Perfect. So we are ready to kickstart the program. Thank you so much to everybody who has joined us. My name is Anna. I'm leading partnerships in the US on the Greenly side. And today I'm being joined by Dr. Sam Onis, who is the Vice President of Audit and Sustainability at DEKRA North America. How are you, Sam?
Good, Anna. Nice to be with you.
Yes, nice seeing you again. We can give a couple of minutes in the meantime while we wait for some more people. In the meantime, we really appreciate the flexibility of all of you for adapting to a different platform and adapting to time difference as well, just because like we were just saying, the time zone difference is definitely tricky. So thank you so much. But given that we are dealing with the time zone difference, between Sam and I would love to learn a little bit more about where the rest of you are joining from. So feel free to let us know in the chat what cities, what countries you're joining from, so that we can also, take that into consideration for future webinars and make sure that we find times to adapt. So where are all of you joining from today? Sam, where are you located right now?
I'm on the East Coast to U.S. in our beautiful city of Florida, state of Florida.
Nice. Okay, so
near
you're
Tampa.
Near Tampa. Awesome. And I see Paul. Hi, Paul. How are you? Paul is another Greenly partner. He's based in New York City. Hope you're staying warm today, Paul. I know it can be challenging. I think Florida sounds quite dreamy right now. Full transparency on that. And where is everybody else joining from today? Outside of Philly. Oh, cold. You definitely know cold. I respect people who are brave enough to live in that part of the US very much. New Jersey as well. Okay, you guys are the tough ones with the winters, and I respect that very much. But okay, I think most of you all are in the East Coast then. Okay, I think we can get on Morocco. Okay, definitely nicer side of the world. I think you're more aligned with my time zone as well. I'm Central European. Perfect. So thank you so much for taking the time again to make time for Greenly and for DEKRA. So today we want to talk a little bit more about mastering sustainability in the manufacturing sectors. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm leading the partnership side of Greenly in North America with our North American partners, and I'm joined here by Dr. Sam, who is joining us from DEKRA in North America. He is really the expert. He knows a lot more about what's going on in the manufacturing sector, what are some trends that are occurring, how we can tackle the challenges of bringing sustainability into this sector. So Sam, I'll let you introduce yourself as well so that we can kickstart the program.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. Well, first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And thank you for having me, Anna. It's a really honor to join the discussion on mastering sustainability in manufacturing. First of all, disclaimer, by the time we finish this, none of us are going to be masters or absolute experts in sustainability, but what you will absolutely get out of this webinar is some roadmaps, maybe some ideas on what you can do within your own environment if you are in the manufacturing field, obviously. So for those of you that may not be familiar with DEKRA, we are a global leader in safety, security, and sustainability. Believe it or not, we're celebrating our Jubilee, 100-year anniversary this year. As a matter of fact, we were established in 1925, and we will be doing many celebrations around the world. Some of them are in Europe, some of them in the US. But with that, we have a ton of experience in industries worldwide to enhance safety, improve operational efficiency, and drive sustainable business practices. Our mission, coming from our CEO, is to improve operational efficiency, drive sustainable business practices globally. And we help companies, meet regulatory compliance, risk management, and help them with their environmental responsibilities. Of course, we're mentioning all this, but we all know we're all on this call for a reason. Sustainability in manufacturing is no longer optional. It's a business imperative, and many of us are already tackling things like carbon reduction, working on circular economy, and we're doing it for the right reasons to do the right things, but also from regulatory compliance and being in supply chains of organizations that have made commitments to do the right thing. So in my role at DEKRA, I've had the privilege of working with many different manufacturers in the US, around the world, and they have and I've seen many different ways of implementing and embedding sustainability into core operations. So today I'll be sharing some of that insight with you, where you can perhaps take some of these ideas and apply it in your world, and continue driving sustainability into the future. So Anna, with that, I'll turn it back over to you. So let's dive in.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to give you more insight into the agenda we have planned for today, we'll do a brief introduction, just like Sun said, going into why this topic is so relevant to companies in manufacturing. Then we'll dive into the questions about how to master it, what are some key trends, what are some future ideas that we can definitely envision manufacturing as well. We'll also leave room for a little Q&A session, so feel free to drop them in the chat as well. Same with the reactions, by the way. That's actually a really cool feature of the Google Meet platform. So let us know what you're thinking if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to address them at the end of the call. And then finally, we'll do a brief wrap up. And just to clear this as well, you will receive a recording of the webinar following the event, so that you can share it with your network, and feel free to join us in our future events as well. So just to get started, as Sam was saying, in today's world, sustainability is no longer an option. It's actually a requirement. Companies that are adopting sustainability practices, such as carbon accounting, they're not just doing it for compliance reasons. Obviously, compliance is important, regulation is happening, but there's a little bit more to that. It's about making your operations more efficient, reducing the costs of your activities as well, which can eventually bring in more revenue, and then also taking advantage of the opportunity, the competitive opportunities that are coming in a globalized world that is taking sustainability more seriously. Now, one question I have for you, Sam, is what are some of the key trends in sustainability that you have seen for manufacturing companies?
Yeah, great question to start off with, Anna. And if you really step back and look at this from a 30,000-foot level, there is a lot. Sustainability on its own is a very broad topic. But in manufacturing, we can hone it down to some very key trends that have been happening over the years. I've studied sustainability for at least 2 decades. I did my doctorate in energy management in automotive manufacturing. So I've read and studied a lot of companies and also research papers in the past. But today, if we're looking at sustainability in manufacturing, there are some key trends. To start off the top, circular economy, and this is not a relatively new concept, right? It may be more popularized today than ever before, with regulations and with sustainability being top of mind for many organizations, which is great. We've seen the evolution over the years. But for example, our business is management systems, and one particular standard there is ISO 14001 for environmental management systems, which has been around for many years. The concept of life cycle perspective has been baked into ISO 14001. So when we see and hear about circular economy today, we can absolutely fall back to an international standard that has been tested, validated, and used by hundreds of thousands of companies globally today. to take some of that knowledge, some of that learning, and apply it into what we're doing today. Another international standard that I can mention around circular economy is, and again, in the ISO 14000 series is ISO 14040 with the life cycle assessment, and ISO 14044. Moving down, obviously, dear to my heart is energy efficiency and renewables. When we're talking about trends in sustainability, one should always consider what they can do about decreasing their energy consumption. Historically, energy usage has always been, well, it's not something that we can control. It's a relatively cost cheap supply of energy globally, so we don't really need to manage it. But if you're tackling carbon, if you're tackling sustainability topics, that's one of the low-hanging fruits that you can start working on immediately. Adoption of solar, wind, and in particularly energy management systems, whether that's physical systems such as technology, or implementing frameworks such as ISO 50001 for energy management, which can really, really get you to establish frameworks that you can use that are not only good for today, but get baked into the DNA of your organization in the long term. Of course, the other things that are relevant in the sustainability trends these days, which if you open up any business journal or any environmental or ESG or sustainability journal these days, it's commitments that are being made for organizations worldwide to things like net zero by 2030, net zero by 2050. Yes, some of us may not be in the sustainability business that far out, or with the companies that we're committing these really nice lofty goals to. However, they are important, right? With any type of strategic initiative, you have to get top-level commitment, and getting really large global players to commit to net zero will drive other initiatives, will drive innovation for many, many years to come. Within net zero, of course, carbon capture and carbon neutrality are topics that are under consideration. And of course, low carbon supply chains. And we'll get into a little bit more of scope 3 and supply chain management later on in the conversations, but these are some of the things that you absolutely want to start thinking about and applying. Some of the other ones that I'll touch very high level are, of course, managing water and waste management, sustainable sourcing, and smart manufacturing. I'll leave it with that. Smart manufacturing for many, many years has been things like, well, let's look at our operations, let's look at our factory floors, and look at, for example, significant energy users within our environments, and putting things like smart metering within the facilities at the significant energy users to start measuring. And of course, we know the saying is, if once you start measuring, you'll start managing it. So I'll leave it at that, Anna. Back to you.
Yes, well, that's definitely a lot going on in the sustainability community. And just like you mentioned, I think we often see companies going and making commitments to achieve net zero by 2030, 2040, 2050. And it does sound like we have time, but not long ago, 2025 felt a lifetime away, yet here we are. So time is passing by, and it's very important to take these topics into consideration. And everything you mentioned resonates with me because I'm involved in the sustainability community. But I think for people who are outside of it, it all sounds a bit overwhelming. How to get started, what are some challenges? I don't even know where to get started, which leads us to our next question. These all sound like very complicated topics and things that we need to take care of, but what are some of the benefits, and how can we turn these sustainability challenges and commitments into a competitive advantage versus other companies who are in the same sector?
Yeah, that's interesting. Historically, I have seen that sustainability is sometimes even not considered as a competitive advantage. And this is going back many, many years, where particular industries, especially in automotive, there have been a lot of collaborations because these were early days in sustainability, where automotive manufacturers said, look, we can all benefit. Humanity can benefit from us collaborating on a topic that is good for the environment, right? So it wasn't seen as a competitive advantage. But if you're asking me, if I'm a sustainability manager and I've been given the role and I need to come up with some competitive advantage to make a business case, I would absolutely say that things like cost savings should be top of mind. Sustainability is sometimes seen as a cost versus cost savings. But there are plenty of case studies, plenty of material that's available out there on organizations that have done sustainability where cost savings are a direct correlation. I'll share some of that in this webinar as well as we move forward. But lowering energy, lowering your water usage, reducing the materials used in your production is absolutely going to turn into cost savings. So that is a cost advantage or competitive advantage. Brand loyalty is absolutely a competitive advantage. There are many, many case studies where it has been proven and established that, employers look differently if they're taking care of sustainability issues. Customers look at brands in a different perspective if they have sustainability top of mind. So brand loyalty can absolutely be a competitive advantage. And of course, you want to stay ahead of the regulatory compliance versus, your competitors. So knowing what's coming down the pike and reacting in a timely fashion will absolutely give organizations a competitive advantage. And last but not least, innovation and growth, right? So if you're seeing organizations like General Motors, a US manufacturer, committed to net zero, and of course what's going to happen is General Motors is going to start working with its suppliers to reach those objectives, and they're going to be very, very selective on what type of suppliers they're working with to meet those objectives. So if you are an organization that's in the supply chain, maybe tier 1, tier 2, further down, you should start thinking about, well, how are we making our products and how do we make sure that it is going to meet our customers' expectations? So at that point, your customer is an OEM and their needs, their wants are changing because of the customer demands or regulatory pressures that they're seeing.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're coming from. I think it's always a matter of one company willing to take a step forward to encourage others to take also initiative to move forward in the sustainability journey. And just something we've seen at Greenly as well with our clients is once customers begin their carbon accounting journey, they realize how easy it can be to commit to net zero, to commit to sustainable suppliers. And then ultimately that makes regulatory compliance so much easier when the time comes, because you have been doing your due diligence, you have done the work already internally. So when it's time to release the results and showcase what you're doing, it's already so much smoother than having to do it in the next 6 months because it's due by, etc. So always trying to be one step ahead of the curve is something that is definitely an advantage for the company. Now, you mentioned the case of an example of General Motors. So my next question would be, do you have some case studies or examples on companies, who have turned these sustainability topics, challenges into innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the clients that we work with for many, many years, and I'm not sharing any secrets here. These are publicly available information, so you can find them by yourself, or we can absolutely share with you. But Cummins is a very large manufacturer, diesel engines. We've had them as a client for many, many years. And in the journey of sustainability, they have done some fantastic things. Some of it is really, really unbelievable. But one of the things that I can speak to about is their implementation of their energy efficiency projects through implementation of ISO 50001 energy management system across their facilities. I believe it's over 40 facilities that they have implemented this. And that's the benefit of using standards like ISO, right? You can use it in the English language, wherever the English language is required. But ISO is already, the standard's already translated into multiple languages, and it's a standardized way of operating. So Cummins has taken this on as a strategic initiative, implemented it across facilities. It was not an easy thing, and it was not overnight. So don't think that, hey, I'm going to pick up a standard, I'm going to do a couple of things, and then we're done and we check a box. This is not a check the box exercise. This is a long-term commitment, but with a commitment that you're going to embed in sustainability in your way of operating and driving innovation in the way that you operate. Some of the things that they have done over the years is, waste heat recovery, LED lighting upgrades, and what I mentioned earlier, smart energy management systems within their facilities, where they're really monitoring what they do on an ongoing basis and have insights into what's happening in their facilities across regions, across countries, and being able to analyze this data in a way that they can make impact over the years on reducing their energy consumption to really make an impact on, let's say, carbon that's being emitted. There is a direct correlation. You use less energy, you're going to emit less. And the impact for this particular case, Cummins has been, over 20% of emissions cut over the years, saves millions in operational costs while maintaining global sustainability targets. And just to give you guys some idea, the case studies that are publicly available talks about Cummins' achievement of 2.3 million metric tons of CO2 emissions over 4 years. That's a significant achievement. And if we think about what that equals to, that's about 500,000 gas-powered vehicles off the road each year. That's about avoiding consumption or combustion of 260 million gallons of gasoline, 2.5 billion pounds of coal burned emitted. So these are really, what I'm giving you an example of is probably the upper echelon of a sustainability case study, right? From what I've seen over the years. I would not expect most of us to reach these numbers. It's probably almost impossible for some of us to reach these targets because we're not using that much energy. We don't have that much, factories that are building these kind of machines and equipment. So again, looking at what could be possible if you are one of these large energy consumers that are operating globally on what's possible. Because you can also make a comparison. If they can do it, what can we do at our capacity, right? If they can do it, what is potentials for us? And again, the standards that I mentioned before are really the drivers for how these companies have achieved it. So it's like saying, what's the roadmap? What's the recipe? I'm kind of giving you guys a hint on what the roadmap and the recipe is. These are internationally available standards. They're very generic. It's just a matter of applying it to your world. It can be done at a factory and global operator like Cummins. It can also be done at a very small manufacturer that is, using a lot less equipment, a lot less energy, but it can still be applied to your environment. So, did you have a question or?
Yeah, no, I think something I wanted to add was actually something like what you just mentioned. It's just because we have different scales does not mean that sustainability is not something to take into consideration, because I think we have all heard of people, like myself, who can say, well, my carbon footprint or my emissions, it cannot be that bad. I do this and I have a recyclable bottle and I have a recyclable straw. And it's like, those are definitely good behaviors. The scale is different, but obviously if we all commit a little bit, that's where the impact is made. And something that at Greenly we're very passionate about is that sustainability does not have to meet a specific size of a company or a specific sector. So, you mentioning that was actually something that resonated with me very well. And I completely agree with everything you're mentioning right now. And I'm happy to hear about your experiences in the industry as well.
So that was an example of a manufacturer at the upper echelon. I'll give you another example. It's not manufacturing, but it's kind of to juxtapose for those of you that are in manufacturing to go all the way to the other side, which is hospitality industry, right? They're not manufacturing anything, it's service related. And one good example there that I can give is another customer of ours, Hilton Worldwide. We've been working with Hilton for many, many years. And here's another example of a very long-term strategic commitment to sustainability. Maybe over a decade, almost 2 decades, where we work with Hilton, where they committed to their sustainability initiatives with establishing their own standard that can be auditable across multiple facilities. So they said, look, we have Hilton brand standards. They're related to some of the, of course, service related aspects of what we do, but we want to expand that to sustainability topics, and we want it to be auditable into the future. And today, we started with their own program, which if I tell you the name, you guys are all going to start recognizing it. If you stay at a Hilton property next time, please look for the sign of Light Stay, one word. Light Stay is Hilton brand sustainability program that they built over the years. And it has grown over the years as well. So it started off with their brand and their auditable checklist to also include quality management system standards like ISO 9001, environmental management standards like ISO 14001, and last but not least, energy management standard ISO 50001. And the benefits of as a service organization applying this type of approach has also been lowering their environmental footprint over the years, reducing their operational cost, and strengthening their brand and appeal for eco-conscious travelers like us, right? And today, that's really paying dividends for them, but it has been an investment for many, many years. Again, it didn't happen overnight, but they are absolutely benefiting from doing the right things from a very long period of time, and truly demonstrating the word sustainable. So those are the ones that I would mention. Yeah, back to you, Anna.
Yeah, I think we could spend a long time, discussing examples of companies who have succeeded at sustainability, adopting frameworks and turning it into a competitive advantage. I know we have examples at Greenly as well, but so we could definitely keep going, but I want to get to my next question. With everything we just discussed about the current state of sustainability in manufacturing, I was curious to see if you had any insight on how it's evolving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I see it is sustainability in manufacturing is absolutely shifting from compliance-driven efforts to more strategic, innovation-led transformations, right? As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of top players, top global players committing to net zero. And we're seeing this increasing daily. And companies are setting carbon neutrality goals with investments in renewables, carbon capture, and things like green hydrogen. Another one is circular economy, where we're absolutely seeing growth in this area from recycled materials, recyclable materials, remanufacturing, and companies really looking at the entire life cycle of the products that they manufacture. Again, I would not say these are anything new, but these are absolutely kicked into high gear within the last couple of years with regulatory pressures and also the commitments that are being made by OEMs that have an impact on everybody else that's operating within their field. I think it would not be appropriate if I didn't mention technology. Smart and green factories, and also technologies such as the Greenly platform. For many, many years, many companies have struggled to capture their carbon footprint. And even today, I have to shake my head when I see really prominent brands out there, really global players still trying to do things in what I would consider outdated technology like Excel. I apologize to anybody that's operating in Excel today to capture your carbon footprint or to collect and analyze data. I would highly recommend utilizing technologies such as Greenly. And of course, there are others in the marketplace, but I am in their conference, so I have to mention that. But I would absolutely, in order to really focus on what you need to do in the sustainability world, you need to use technology. So that's absolute must. Moving on from that, what are the things that are evolving? Of course, the regulatory landscape is not going away. For those of you that's monitoring what's happening in the US, of course, a lot of things have been dialed down. It's unfortunate, but when we go to conferences, when we talk to sustainability professionals across the country, we continue to see the commitments that have been made. We continue to see the sustainability professionals charging forward with their commitment to their North Star, which is we must act now, we must stay committed, regardless of what the political landscape is. And of course, when we cross the pond, where Anna is sitting in Europe, similar things. We've been monitoring EU regulations like CSRD for a few years now. And some of you on the call are most likely aware that that's also going through some dialing down with an omnibus proposal. What we are telling our customers in our network is that it's a proposal, nothing has changed. And although the CSRD regulations may be an overstretch as they first came out, the dialing down is not a bad thing, but there is still a need for capturing, analyzing, and reporting of emissions, environmental impacts for investors to be able to make decisions and stakeholders to be able to make decisions on who to work with. So yeah, a little bit long-winded. I apologize, Hannah, but if, to answer your questions about what's evolving in the manufacturing industry at a very high level, these are some of the things that we should be considering.
Yeah, there's definitely way too many changes to keep track of on the regular. So, it's important to stay aware of the trends and seeing what else is coming. But I had one last question before I let people come in with their own question. Given everything we've discussed today about the state of sustainability in manufacturing, where we see it going, some examples as well, one question from me would be, what advice would you give to manufacturing companies who are struggling in their sustainability journey, especially those companies who are just getting started, and that it might be the initial overwhelming situation that I mentioned earlier about not sure where to start. So what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, going back to my earlier comments, I mean, manufacturers are no longer just reducing environmental impact, they're driving innovation, cutting costs, and gaining competitive advantage, all the things that we just talked about. And if you're beginning in this journey, I would say, start easy, start with simple things. You don't have to boil the ocean all at once, but start with tracking your carbon and implementing an energy efficiency program. Simple upgrades like LED lighting, smart sensors, and these things can quickly help you get some traction, yield some quick cost savings and carbon reductions. Set realistic goals. Do not go right away to net zero commitments if you haven't done anything in sustainability. Let's start, with some easy wins, because, in my opinion, net zero is really important, but it's going to be very, very difficult. There's going to be a lot of organizations that's going to have difficulty achieving this, and there is going to be some walking back of commitments, unfortunately. Now, walking back commitments does not mean they will not continue sustainability journey, but achieving certain things will be very, very challenging. So set clear goals, achievable goals, SMART goals, as we call them. But set realistic sustainability targets of, reducing your emissions by 10% over the next 5 years. That is something most companies can do. That is something that you can track, and that's something that you can commit to and feel good about. As I mentioned earlier, leverage digital tools, Greenly, Internet of Things, IoT. I think it goes without saying, AI. If you haven't started using AI to evaluate what are your options within your particular business or your industry, I would highly recommend that, or suggest that. And implement standards. This is probably the most simplistic roadmap that you can demonstrate, showcase, and feel confident about, because it's not something that is new. ISO standards don't just pop out of the woodworks and it's something good to do. These things are done through consensus of many technical experts over many years. And there have been a lot of case studies that are publicly available. So if you look at some of your competitors, you will absolutely see that they are doing some sort of standardization across their facilities. Another thing that I would mention is to work with your OEMs, if you're a supplier to an OEM, or work with your suppliers and continue to engage them about opportunities for improvement, opportunities for sustainability practices, whether that's through partnerships with the OEM on some of the innovations and technology you're bringing to the table, or some of the things that you're demanding from your suppliers on what they need to do. Educate them, communicate with them, learn from them, and engage them on what are they doing and how you can be partners for the journey that's coming up. I would say the last but not least is stay compliant and competitive. Compliance is absolutely important, especially with the many regulations and the alphabet soup of regulations that are out there. Stay ahead of the curve. And be prepared. Be prepared that some of these regulations may come down the pike, and doing a little bit of a homework can go a long way. And reach out to partners like Greenly DEKRA to help you position yourself in this journey.
So much knowledge, and I really appreciate it. It's definitely good to start small in order to see improvements. And ultimately, sustainability is a marathon, not a sprint. So we got to pace ourselves and get started, because one step at a time is definitely going to help things smoother. Now, I had my chance to ask Dr. Sam a lot of the questions that I wanted to. So do any of you have any questions regarding the topics we discussed here? Feel free to drop them in the chat as as we continue the conversation. But likewise, feel free to send us an email if you have any questions regarding how Greenly can help you, how DEKRA can support you as well. Ultimately, sustainability and safety go hand in hand, which is why Greenly is partnering with DEKRA to help companies who are committed to taking sustainability one step further. So without further ado, I don't know if any of you have any questions for Dr. Sam right now. Paul has one. He says, speak a bit about change management best practices.
Yeah, Paul, thank you. And thanks for joining the webinar. It's interesting, especially within the world of sustainability, how to apply change practices. One of the things that I would recommend is to absolutely be leaders of communication. Sustainability leaders have to lead with communication, and they need to be change champions, change agents, I should say. And some of the things that I've seen over the years for change management and change practices is really communicating on the early wins. I'll give you an example. We had organizations that started off with, sustainability being an absolute capital investment and something that was a major hurdle. And some of the sustainability or energy champions or facility managers that I've talked to over the years really got the top level commitment from CEO level, president level, or CFO level. And we're able to turn these sustainability initiatives that used to be looked at as CapEx projects, which then turn into, they used to be driven by the facilities and needed to get commitment from the top level, where they flipped upside down. Once these projects were implemented and properly communicated and properly documented, which is really important, the CFOs and the top level management start coming to the facilities and asking, where else can we do these projects? Because of the fast return on investment, because of the cost savings, because of the benefits that have been truly documented and communicated across organizations. When you get your CFO to start seeing the numbers that benefit your organization in the millions, for example, going back to Cummins, we're talking about multi-million-dollar savings over the years. These are considerable changes to your profit margins, where you're operating in a very slim margin industries. And when you can bring in multi-million dollars of savings, it's the equivalent of selling many products to reach similar profitability gains. So I would say, with regards to change management, document what you are doing, communicate results early on, and gain the commitments to continue investing into sustainability projects by demonstrating that it's not a nice to do, but it's an absolutely way of operating and way of benefit in your organization for the long term.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions that we could discuss before we move forward? Okay. Okay, I think I have one more question for you, Sam, and that's just before we drop off, which is, DEKRA and Greenly have been partners for, almost a year now. We have collaborated in initiatives together. We have supported clients together. So one question for you is, how would you describe, the collaboration between DEKRA and Greenly? Why is it important for a company like DEKRA to partner with a company like Greenly and vice versa, in just a few simple terms?
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started looking at the Greenly platform, it became very, very clear and obvious that the way of the future for sustainability topics such as carbon accounting has to be digital. I made the little comment about, let's not use Excel sheets to do the work. The way that we see that is that the technology that Greenly provides is a very easy way for you to collect and analyze your carbon accounting, carbon emissions. And why is it important for an organization like DEKRA, which is a verification body at the end of the day? What we look for is a very structured way of collecting and analyzing data so that we can do our due diligence, we can do our job to come in and say, yes, the data that is being presented to your stakeholders as a company is accurate, it's valid, and it can be trusted in the long term. And for organizations that's going through this journey, that is really important. Why? You don't want to have your sustainability data to be questionable. You need to have data that can be justified, verified, in platforms that are sound and reputable. And if you have those elements within your environment, you can stand very proud of the data that you're sharing with your stakeholders, and you can use it as a competitive advantage. Let's put that as well. Where your stakeholders will also have confidence in the information that you're providing them.
Perfect. Yeah, no, we're definitely very excited to be partnering with DEKRA, and we know we have a strong 2025 coming ahead. So thank you so much for your time, Sam. And just before we wrap up, I wanted to share our conclusion of the topics we discussed, which is the secret to thriving in sustainability is not just measuring carbon, it's actively leveraging digital solutions to reduce emissions, optimize resources, and boost business efficiency, which is very aligned with everything that you just discussed and shared with us, Sam, in your experience. Before we jump off, I don't know if you have any thoughts or additional feedback that you'd like to share with us and your expertise. Something you would like to leave us with before we jump
I would say, again, reiterating the fact that start small. You don't have to do everything all at once. Definitely get top-level management commitment early on, and document and communicate your results early on so that you can have the snowball effect of, sustainability is not a checking the box. Sustainability is not a cost center, but it is something that is a competitive advantage that you can differentiate yourself as an individual, differentiate your organization, and of course, last but not least, doing the right thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, for your knowledge, your expertise, Sam. I really enjoyed speaking with you today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Anna.
It's the first of many times, I'm sure. And we have more webinars in the future as well, for Greenly, for partners. But thank you all so much for joining today, for your flexibility as well with learning to navigate the daylight saving difference and the technology challenges we've had. So thank you so much. I look forward to engaging with you in the future. Feel free to reach out again if you have any questions, if there's something we can help you with. And thank you again for taking sustainability as well as an important topic in your company. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.